One. Hey there, Hill folk, and welcome back to another episode of Appalachian Intelligence. We're extremely grateful that you guys can join us again for another week, for another edition of AI. We're not doing that again, Lance. We're not going. we're not saying it 50 times like we did the last time.
We will if I want to.
Oh yeah, we will. We definitely will. I can't stop you. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I can, because I'm hosting this thing. And watch this. Boom, you're muted. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? All right, I'll unmute you. There you go.
That's right.
Hey, don't ever come at me. Don't ever come at me like
that,
son. I'll shut you down.
I want to when I want to. I don't care.
I'll shut you down completely.
I don't care. You're the one captaining this rudderless ship, isn't me? I can't do what I want to.
You're about to get muted again. You're really close. Uh-oh. So before we jump in here, we're going to y'all know what we like to do. We get a little love. We like to throw a little love back y'all's way and read a 5-star review. So this week's 5-star review comes from Brad Runyon. It says, truly one of a kind. This is truly one of the most unique, informative, and entertaining podcasts I've ever had the privilege of listening to. If you're interested in learning more about the history of the Appalachian region and the paranormal occurrences that have plagued it since its conception, then this is the podcast for you. Buckle up and listen up as you'll be taken on a ride into the unknown happenings of Appalachia. You'll learn about haunts, conspiracies, cryptids, secret societies, alien encounters, the paranormal, and so much more. Plus, the community built around what these guys are doing is nothing short of pure awesomeness. Please keep up the great work, AI. You've truly got something special going on here. Sending good vibes all the way from northeastern Tennessee. Sincerely, Brad Runyon. So, Brad, thank you for that 5-star review.
And far too kind.
And I may be getting up with you to do a little writing promo for us, because that was freaking awesome. Like, you explained the show better than I ever have. Yeah, that was awesome. And speaking of the community built around what we're doing, we got another powwow coming at y'all tonight. We got another powwow going on. So with us so far tonight, well, first off, your hosts, as usual, Justin and Lance, as you could already tell by the introductory banner. Ryan's not with us again. He's still, I don't know. He hasn't even answered me today. The feds might have already heard what we were trying to put him up to. They've already got him locked up in Guantanamo somewhere. They're torturing him like crazy right now. They're pulling his toenails off. They've got like ice picks through his tongue. But what they don't know is all this torture that they're doing to Ryan right now is just turning him on like crazy, because he is a super kink, son.
The kinkiest of kinky.
He's
no, like I tried to call Ryan today, like this evening. I knew he had some time. I tried to call him and he didn't even, like, he went straight. Yeah, you're exactly right.
He might be, right. He might be.
I think he is. But I tried to call him, and usually when I call him, he's pretty quick to answer. I was just calling to check in on him, and I got nothing, no text back, no nothing. Hopefully he's still doing okay down there.
Well, I don't know. I just told you what I think. I think they've got him locked up somewhere and they're torturing him. They're trying to get all the info about us and what we're doing. But little do they know, we don't even freaking know what we're doing. So good luck, feds. Whatever base.
Maybe they can find it out and tell us.
Ryan, whatever base you're on right now, just start lying to them. I mean, because they're never going to believe we don't know what's going on. We play it too good. Anyway, we'll dive into this thing. Enough of the playful chit chatter. Let's get down to business. Get in my business, ladies. And business is good. All right. Got another powwow going on for you. Brad, our boy Brad Runyon there, was talking about the community that we've been building here around AI. This powwow is one of the ways that we show that tribe that we've been building. We have a tier on Patreon. It's the sibling tier. And once a month, we do these Patreon Kinfolk powwows to where we send out a mass invite Zoom link, and everybody jumps on here and we do a little round table. So far with us tonight, we've got our boy Kenneth, fan favorite. Another one of our boys, Maynard. He's been here a couple times. He hits you with all the Bigfoot stuff. Kenneth was blowing my mind last time with all this, I don't even know, a bunch of space junk, talking about us being in the center of the universe and the axis of evil and all kinds of crazy junk. I don't know. He goes deeper than I can ever think about. We got our boy Outlaw. He's got his real name up here, but I can't even call him by his real name because I see Outlaw all the time. So we got our boy Outlaw, and we're probably going to end up putting this thing on YouTube because I told him earlier he looks like Antonio Banderas and Gerard Butler had a baby. I mean, he's a good-looking kid. He's a good-looking kid. And he's been pushing snow all day long. All day. We got our good buddy Jason. He's joined us, and we definitely got to get this on YouTube because that beard is rocking. Phenomenal. And speaking of beards, he grows the finest, folks.
He
grows the finest in all the land. We have got returning guest and loyal Hillfolk member, tribal elder, Dick Meadows, here with us tonight. Dick, how are you doing?
What's up,
buddy?
guys? You doing all right, guys?
Yes, sir.
Dude, I've been working. I just got home, man. I wish I had some kind of a intro to fire back. It's hard to follow that one up.
Well, you're right in time, man. You're right in
Yeah.
time. You didn't miss a thing, only everything.
Well, I'm glad, dude. Good to see you guys. Good to see everybody.
It's good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. And that beard is still, man.
Like, this has got to go up on YouTube because there's some facial hair in this group.
You got that
like
right.
Mine and yours, like my beard is, I look like somebody took a prepubescent boy and slapped on some pubes on his face, and yours is almost the same. Yours is pretty much the same. It's just red, but the rest of these fellas, my goodness.
I know. We're slack.
This is a I don't know, a foundational class on masculinity here. These beards I'm seeing.
I know. I'm feeling extremely inferior right now.
That's how I live my life.
So we'll jump on in here, get started. We'll just go around. We'll go clockwise from my screen anyway. I don't know about y'all's screen. We'll go clockwise from my screen, meaning that Kenneth's going to go last on this thing again. And man, good luck. Buckle up. It's going to blow your mind. So we'll kick it over here to Outlaw first. Outlaw, what kind of stuff you been looking into lately, man? What kind of research topics we've been looking at? Questions for any of the guys here?
Oh man, I've been looking at all sorts of stuff, but mainly it's Tartaria.
Oh yes.
Oh man, that's such a pain in the ass rabbit hole to go through, but because there's so many what's the word I'm looking for? Things that could be true and things that are, and when you mix those together, you just can't really sift through the BS. So yeah, that's
it gets really muddy, doesn't it?
It does. And,
pun intended.
Oh yeah, it's
what you did there.
No, that's what I've been doing lately, but like I said, it's just one of those where I wish I didn't, but at the same time, it's one of the most, in my opinion, interesting topics to go through. One of the most interesting researches out there. So
let me ask you this question, Outlaw. Do you think that I'm going to call it the land or the people of Tartaria, do you think, and you can just yes or no if you want to, or you can get into however you want to answer the question, do you think it was real?
Oh, again, that's a tough one. In my opinion, I don't think it was, but there's also a lot of evidence pointing to that it was real. Again, I just don't know where to even sift through all of that. I mean, going through different books and all that from the 1800s and all that, especially the encyclopedias for the Britannica encyclopedias, pointed out there was a place called Tartaria. Now, again, I don't know all the specifics. I'm still trying to wade through all that BS, but again, the evidence points to that it was real, but there's also evidence that it wasn't real. So again, it's just a quagmire that I'm trying to sift through. But
there's definitely a lot of.
So what this is listen, you're right up my alley right here. Just I mean, it was as soon as you said Tartaria, I was like, yes. Mud flood. So do you think that the evidences for covered up civilizations, which I think we probably can both agree, there's a ton of those archaeological evidences that there have been civilizations that have been covered by dirt, and that mainstream science has tried to explain away with a variety of different avenues of whatever, right? And there's been a lot more evidence come to light here, probably in the last decade, maybe last half a decade, for some form of mud flood, some form of something that has caused a lot of these, what we see today. If you could get down 15, 20 feet through the dirt, in places they've done this, there's evidences of other civilizations, right? So do you think that, and again, you answer however you want to, do you think that mud flood was one of the reasons or one of the things that have covered up some of these ancient civilizations and even some of these ancient civilizations technologies?
In my opinion, yes, but at the same time, I think mud floods are not specifically related to Tartaria, but I think it had something to do with covering up, like you said, other civilizations. Now, again, now I lost my train of thought, but it's just I don't know how to explain it, man. Like, the possibility is definitely out there that, yeah, the mud flood could have covered up all these civilizations, but at the same time, it's not really, I don't think it's like a worldwide type event. I think it was more localized in certain areas. But
okay, yeah, sure, I can get down with that. I can get down with that. Here's another thing that I read this week, and you boys may know this. It's just another theory that's out there, that the pyramids, right? So in the Sphinx, so the majority of the Sphinx was covered up through the 1800s, right? Because the sand that was there and some of the erosion and things, and they actually think that if you dig down around the Sphinx, there's actually chambers and other stuff that are down below it. It's just kind of the top of a little bit of the structure. I was reading this week. I wish I could remember the guy who wrote the article. I read so much garbage that I don't oftentimes remember. But they were proposing the idea and the theory of the pyramids, whereas simply all that we see of the pyramids are essentially just the top of 30 to 40 to 50 feet down into the ground. They were like the peak of an obelisk, and that there's a huge tower or a structure or something that it kind of reaches down 30, 40, 50, even 60 feet down into the sand. Of course, the LiDAR and stuff that they do shows something around that, but it can't reach that far. And of course, the Egyptian government is not going to allow people to excavate that and get down in there. But there's a theory out there that the pyramids are essentially that what we're seeing is the peak of a large structure and a large tower that could go down to 50 or 60 feet. Which, if that's true, right, and if that's something that is true, then we wrap that right back around to Tartaria, that there is obviously a concentrated effort by the people who are in charge to cover up certain avenues, cover up certain events, or cover up certain cultures of ancient history that, for whatever reason may be, they don't want us to know about. And I think the guys like Graham Carlson and all these other people who, of course, are coming out with this counter scientists, counter archaeologists, are revealing more and more evidence for. There's a whole lot of stuff out there that we don't know about, and they don't want us to know about, for whatever the reason may be.
Yeah, I think all of history is a lie. It's all a lie. None of it's true.
Honestly, man, I could go with that because, like what's the word I'm looking for? I know at the same time it could be a logistical nightmare trying to cover all that history and evidence up, but at the same time, again, like I said, there's definitely evidence that there was a Tartary, and now, yeah, I could definitely get behind the idea that like the pyramids could go further down than what we're actually seeing and all that. And no, yeah, it's just like I said, man, the evidence, it's there, but at the same time, there's also contradictions, and man, that's the hardest part, is just trying to figure out what belongs and what doesn't.
And I don't know where it went, but I actually had some kind of documentation. It was from one of these alphabet agencies. It was one of the times that I shut my phone completely down, and it almost, I was looking into a lot of places that I shouldn't have been digging into. But I did find a document, and I thought that I downloaded it, but they must have killed me. They must have killed it out. But it was actually talking about Tartaria. Now, this was like a document from the 30s or 40s, something like that. But it was talking about Tartaria, and I don't remember exactly what the specifics were in that. But just talking about Tartaria, I mean, you look at a lot of the evidence that is delivered by these people that really believe in Tartaria. And it's one of those things, like, how much of it was a global civilization that's they intentionally covered up, and how much of it was just like, okay, due to natural disaster, due to time, due to all these different things, they just, they built cities on top of cities. They built temples on top of temples. They're all throughout humankind. They built on top of other civilization. So I'm kind of with you on that, Outlaw. Like, now I 100,000% believe that at a certain point there was a global civilization. I do believe that. Now, was that Tartaria? I don't know. But I believe we have too much architectural and archaeological evidence that just line up and match up too perfectly to think that there wasn't some kind of global civilization, or at least a lot of people that migrated from the same area that had the same kind of knowledge that started building all around the world all at the same time. So I'm with you on that. It's one of those things, like, there's evidence there to support it. Was it this big, great global civilization that was intentionally conquered because of, whatever, and then it was intentionally covered up? Or is it just something that's been thrown out there? Was it this little place that used to exist, and because all throughout history, civilization has built on top of civilization? Now, one of the most interesting things to me is all of the architecture and the buildings and the foundation and structures and cities on top of cities in the U.S. Now, in Europe, in the Middle East, Asia, these places are supposed to be really, really old. Civilizations there are supposed to have been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But when we start seeing, like, a lot of stuff going on underneath the architecture in the US, that's where it starts raising some questions, right? That's where it's like, wait a minute here. If it was nothing but the natives until the 1600s, where did all these other structures come from? Where did these monolithic structures come from? Where did all the, like, there's a lot of stuff going on that makes me question specifically the US narrative, which in turn, I think makes people question the world narrative. But I don't know. I'm with you on it. It's kind of a, and we're planning on doing like a full Tartaria episode on here one day and getting somebody on here that, like, you know, has really, really, really dove deep in, because I got some questions. Lance has got all kinds. That's why he's trying to hit you with them.
Well, like I said, man, it's just one of those ones that you really don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just, like I said, evidence is there, and then the evidence also points that didn't exist. But like you said, there's too many structures or coincidences that point otherwise. So, I mean, where do you even begin with all of that?
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Well, the rest of you boys on here, what y'all think about Tartaria?
I'm not really sure about Tartaria, but I do think it's interesting. You find a lot of cultures, like the most common one I'm thinking of right now is Göbekli Tepe, which I have problems saying all the time, over in Turkey. Is they're finding that those round structures exist everywhere, but they were from what they could tell, purposely buried to protect them. That's the reason we're finding them, because they were buried for all these centuries. Right now, they're pretty much the oldest civilization we know of on the globe. And why were they buried? People are like, well, they're trying to preserve them for future culture. Well, if things were going poorly in their culture, the last thing they're going to worry about is burying them for future civilizations. I mean, if the shit's hitting the fan, you're just trying to survive or get out. You're not going to take the time to bury everything to preserve it. So it's just curious as to what's going on there. Now, whether all these things were buried for the same reason, how that would mix in with Tartaria, I have no idea. And also, like, you have places like Troy. When Heinrich Schliemann was looking for the lost city of Troy, he thought everyone thought it was a myth, that it never existed. It was just a story from the Iliad. And he found a spot he thought would, where in a modern city in Turkey, where he thought it would. He dug down and he found an ancient city, and everyone was like amazed at that. But then when he looked around and it didn't match what he read in the Iliad, so he wound up digging down another layer, and they found another city. But that one didn't match, and I can't remember how many times he dug down. I want to say it was something ridiculous, like 7 times or something like that, and found different, like, ancient civilizations. And he dug down to like 7 or 9 cities before he actually found the Troy of the Iliad, where these cities had just been built on top of each other. Now that part of the world has a lot of earthquakes. So was that just a thing of earthquakes wipe things out and they just rebuild on top of it? But it's kind of a thing you just see over through different parts of the world where things were buried, were they done intentionally? Was it part of some cataclysm? But it just seems like all these things keep getting buried and buried. And it just seems like something must have gone on that world war, going on. I mean, why that is, who knows? But it just seems curious.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, Maynard. I agree with that. And it's one of those things, like, I mean, y'all know my views. I mean, y'all have listened to the show long enough. I mean, shoot, for your Hillfolk tribal elders, you know enough about me and my belief system and my views. Like, to me, I believe that there were these massive civilizations that one great flood got rid of at one point, and I'm talking the flood of Noah. But when you're talking Tartaria, so if this was like, these ancient civilizations, say like Göbekli Tepe, I believe that even though that one has been intentionally covered up, and we have evidence for that, But I'm saying even without that, if you have some of these places that have been covered up by these mud floods or whatever, I believe if there was a worldwide flood, there'd be a whole lot of stuff covered up. Now, the only thing with Tartaria is this is recent. This is something, people talk about Tartaria existing, in the end of the 1850s, 1860s. So that's the only weird thing with that. We're not talking about a civilization that was,
Okay.
10, 12,000 years old, something like that. We're talking about something pretty recent, something that looks like it was intentionally just done, erased from the history books. We're done. So I don't know. That's the weird part to me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't realize it was that recent.
Yeah, there's a lot of Tartaria that
Wow.
shows the evidence of Tartaria that shows that it was all the way up until 1850, or at least the mid 1800s, and maybe even more recent than that. I don't know. It's weird, man. It's weird.
I mean, go ahead, Richard.
Oh, that's all right. No, I was just going to say, Justin, I had talked to you when we were joking about the synchronicities thing with the owl that day. I don't have a lot to add to the Tartaria, but I will say that what Outlaw was talking about. Anytime you have there's no evidence against it. We don't have any evidence against it. We have evidence for it, but we don't have any evidence against it. I've smoked a lot of pot since 2012. That's when I went to college for administration of justice. But I remember those classes specifically, and I hold a lot of that dear when it comes to investigation. But what we judge people on in this country in the courtroom is the total body of evidence in layman's terms, whatever it may be, habeas corpus or whatever. But the total body of evidence. You have evidence. That's just like with the Bible. People argue with me about the Bible, and that's okay. I fully support everybody's view, no matter what it may be. If you truly believe in it, I hope you're right in it for your sake. But for me, I'm like Justin and Lance and Ryan. I'm a firm believer, but we have evidence for a lot of those things that are written about in the Bible. We have no evidence against it. Even Stephen Hawking would say it. We have no evidence against it. We have evidence for it. I mean, if until we can mount up enough evidence against something, and I had to teach myself that when I got into this whole realm. Anybody's seen that episode where I was on AI with you guys, but I can't remember what episode it was, but I wasn't. I didn't. I had written all this stuff off too, and I never had. That was some of my own medicine that I should have taken. We don't have any evidence against it, but there's plenty of people saying that they've seen this. There's plenty of people saying that they've seen Bigfoot. These people didn't just one at a time say, "Oh, well, I'm going to say that I saw what this guy saw." And there's too many things. There's too many things that match up. In all, there's too many pieces of circumstantial evidence that add up that would be more than a coincidence to find. Whether you talk about Tartaria, you're talking about ancient like when you're talking about the pyramids, those pyramids were built with rocks that we don't have technology today to put there, at least not known to the masses. I'm sure known to those in power, but that would be the reason they would want something like that covered up. We don't have shit like that. We can't live there. There are rocks over there that were strategically placed and more square than a machinist can get apart. Even on today's, I'm a machinist now by trade. Even on today's CNC machines, these things were strategically placed here, supposedly thousands of years ago, and they were done so. Obviously, with these, because they were done so, there's a lot of structures there like that, and not only that, we can't replicate that. So there were technologies, there were things, there is evidence of not only the prior civilizations themselves, but some of their abilities that surpassed ours. And another thing to hit on, Justin, that I remember hearing in one of these episodes, whether it be, I can't remember if it was your all's or Tony's, God said he destroyed the world with a flood. Who's to say he didn't destroy it with something else before then? How many times has it been destroyed?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those things when you start digging into scripture, it said, from the beginning, and Joel Thomas, our good buddy Joel Thomas from Kill the Mockingbirds, Van Tesla, he does a really good job in talking about this and theorizing, postulating theories on this. And I'm not going to say either way because I haven't done enough digging into it and enough. I haven't exegetically went through it the way that I need to go through it to really see. But, the Bible tells us in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and the Spirit of God hovered above the waters, right? Okay, so even from right there, God has always existed. In my belief, in my viewpoint, in the Christian viewpoint, God has always been there. God has always existed. But it says there that God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and the Spirit of God hovered above the water. So it was all water then. Do we know for sure that there wasn't something there before that? No, we don't. Like what I tell people all the time when we're talking the Bible, that are like, well, we know this and this and this existed. Why ain't it in the Bible? We know this happened. Why ain't it in the Bible? Well, if you put everything that ever happened in the history of everything in the Bible, nobody would ever sit down and read it because it would be 4,711 miles long and thick. Like there's no way. The way I look at the Bible is a spiritual guidebook to prove to me and to show me why I should have faith in the God that I have faith in and in the Jesus Christ that I have faith in and believe in. And it's a guidebook. The entirety of the Bible points to Jesus, right? Even all through the Old Testament, everything points to Jesus. It's a guidebook to show me how to get back to God. That's it. It's him showing and proving how to get back to him. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that's not in the Bible, but it's a lot of stuff that we may sit here and talk about and theorize and are really, really cool conversations, but maybe it doesn't matter.
Not only that.
No, go ahead.
No, and also there probably has been a lot more in it. Look how many times the Bible's been molested, and those stories have been molested by the hands of men since that time. The Order of Nicaea. You're talking about a king that told people to write down something from a king. And now what happens? Now, let me ask you something. If Joe Biden were to say, "Hey, I want you to write this about my life, and put this and this in there," do you think he's going to add the sniffing little babies? Do you think he's going to add his crackhead son? Well, shit, no, he's not going to add that. It's going to be from his point of view. And I'm not saying that to be political. I'm just pointing out the foul. That's men's fallacy. That's our downfall. We're not going to put something. If I had men to organize a Bible for generations of the future, I sure wouldn't put anything bad about myself in there. And that's a human. But I'm just saying we don't know. There probably was a lot more that we know that the Book of Enoch. We don't know that the Book of Enoch wasn't supposed to be in there? Enoch was in the Bible. Hell, Enoch's one of the two or three in the Bible that God in the entire history of the planet, that went home without dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why would we not have his book in there?
Look, I'm with you. There's a lot of non-canonical.
Just food for thought.
Yeah, there's a lot of non-canonical texts that are out there that we know the early Jewish church, like the Second Temple Hebrews, they went by. We know that Peter and Jude quoted the Book of Enoch. We know that it was one of those things. And the way that I look at it is, even though they may not be in the Bible, you still have discoveries like the Dead Sea Scrolls. You still have things like the Book of Enoch that have been preserved. You still have the teachings of these early Hebrew, Israelite leaders that have went on to show that even though they may not be right in there, they may not be canon, they're still there to learn from. They're still there to fit some pieces together and to mix and match those puzzle pieces in together to where, it may not all be there. So start looking around, start reading these other texts. You'll know. I mean, if your spirit, if the spirit is saying this probably ain't legit, it's going to let you know. But if you're reading, it's like, oh, wait a minute, that makes a lot of sense because this and that and this and that. Well, this scripture says that. Well, Peter and Jude are quoting it. Well, the early church leaders said this and talked about this and talked about, So it's one of those things, like, I think, because there are verses in the Bible that, God says, and I believe that every word in the Bible is endowed by the Holy Spirit. There are verses in the Bible where God says that his word will not be added to or taken away from, right? Well, we know that throughout history, mankind has tried to do that. But then we have the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Then we have something like the Book of Enoch being preserved. So again, to me, it's one of those things like, okay, this is what y'all tried to do, but here's the rest. It's like God is still making sure that the literature that he set forth to be out there is still going to be out there. It's still going to be available for people to learn from. It's still going to be available for people to teach from. So that's just my look on it, because in my eyes, and this has gotten a long way from Tartaria. This is what happens. This is what happens. In my viewpoint, God is sovereign, right? God is omnipotent. Whatever his will is eventually what's going to happen. Now, we know that there's an adversary. We know that there's, a form of darkness in the spiritual realm that is constantly rallying against that. They've been in a constant state of rebellion since before the earth was created. Possibly. Food for thought. It's been a constant state of rebellion. But in the end, we know that God created those in the beginning too. They can only do what God allows them to do. So everything, in my viewpoint, everything is put forth. Everything happens the way that it's supposed to happen. That's just the way that I see it. Maybe the Dead Sea Scrolls were supposed to be taken away for a certain timeline and then delivered back again at the very right time. Maybe the Book of Enoch, you never used to hear about the Book of Enoch at all. And then all of a sudden in the last 5-10 years, it's like, boom, people are really looking at Genesis 6. People are really going to the Book of Enoch. They're really starting to understand that battle, that constant battle, and how it's been going on from the beginning of time, since creation, and how that relates to the world around you, how it relates to everything that you're looking at in today's society, how we can look and see whether you can see into that spiritual realm or not. You can just look at society, man, and you can see that constant battle going on. You can see who's working for the powers of God and of light, and you can see who's working in the power of Satan and of evil and of darkness. You can see it plain as day. All that's starting to come to light, and I think the timing is perfect. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I was just going down too, and I didn't mean to. I know some of the other guys probably aren't, may not be have the same beliefs as us. But to the point I was getting at is, if even if you do just look at the Bible as a historical piece of of evidence, of what was going on then. You have these bits of evidence that have been proven, and that's what I was talking about in relation to what Outlaw was talking about with Tartaria. When you have that evidence, even if you don't subscribe to the book of the Bible, a lot of these things line up with that, or you have to follow the evidence. There's nothing against it. There's no evidence to disprove it. So, and when you have evidence to prove it, you're one step closer to saying, or at least to changing some minds and having people to throw some money at researching a little further sometimes.
Yeah. So
Oh,
going all the way back around to Tartaria. Outlaw, final thoughts.
oh, like I said, man, I just have mixed feelings, but also just something deep inside me tells me it's there. It was there, that it did exist. Just again, it's just trying to wade through the actual evidence. And I mean, you got to look at it. They had flags of Tartary, Grand Tartary, and Tartaria, whatever you want to call it. It was the dragon and an owl. So I'm also a believer. So you probably know what that means.
That tells you all you need to know right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So
no wonder it was
anyway.
destroyed. Freaking Tartary. You owl dragon loving bunch.
But yeah, just final thoughts on that though. I mean, I can't remember who wrote. I think it was a book called Purchas His Pilgrims. It was a medieval manuscript, but talks about how this Catholic priest associated Tartary with Gog and Magog. So and so I don't know, maybe that points out something, and who knows, man. But like I said, it's just rabbit trail after rabbit trail with that one. So
I have seen some of the supposed architecture and the doors, and the doors are gigantic.
Oh yeah, they're huge, man.
I think they might have been giants. Going with that Gog and Magog statement, I think they might have been giants.
Yeah, I agree with that one as well. But anyway, that's all I gotta say about that.
Man, we could talk about that could have been a whole episode. But just to try to get everybody involved in here, let's move along. Still going clockwise from my screen. Jason, you've been pretty quiet so far, brother. What kind of stuff you've been looking into, or what's been going on? What kind of weird is in your life right now?
Oh, let's see. Well, quiet because I'm listening. I'm going to rehash a little bit what you and Mr. Meadows was talking about, because that's been my thing here lately, is binging on Sword and Staff, because that dude, he is unreal. I mean, that's like the best Bible study I've ever heard.
Josh knows his stuff, man. Josh
he
and
really
Richie, they know
does.
their stuff.
Which, that led me down the whole dark holler and all that, and how that goes together. And so here lately, it's just been, I'm about to start listening to some Heiser, and some of that other stuff that they talk about. But yeah, I guess, I don't know, 6 months ago, I wouldn't have given much of stuff second thought. I've always been into Sasquatch and Bigfoot and all that. I've got some buddies that do that, and some guys that I met online that I talk to and go camp with time to time. But if you're going to think about Bigfoot, I mean, you have to open up. And you can't pick and choose your weirdness. I mean, I can't tell somebody, they can't tell me I'm crazy for thinking about Dogman if they're going to be looking for Bigfoot. I mean, what's the difference, really? So, no, that's about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you hit a lot right there, though. And I think, again, it can all tie in together, just like you're talking about. And huge shout out to Josh and Richie. Sword and Staff is the podcast itself is no longer, but that's understandable. Things happen live, situations in live, circumstances change. They're still working on Shadow Appalachia. That's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. I'm so pumped for Shadow Appalachia. Number one, because we're going to be involved in it, and obviously I'm going to be pumped about it. But number two is the spin that they're putting on it and show, and not even the spin. It's not spin. I don't want to make it sound like it's dramatized, because it's not. We talk on here all the time on our show. There's some old gods around here. There's old entities that hang around in these mountains, and they're not good. They're not good. If they bring fear, if they bring confusion, if they bring anxiety, then they're not of God. They're not of the Most High. Now, they have been gods at one point or another, I believe. But to be able to show like what Josh and Richie are doing, that despite of all that, about how Jesus is still king and is still on the throne and literally has his foot on the throat of all of those entities, as long as you use his name and in his power, that's a big thing, man. Like that's huge.
Oh,
But
yeah.
in doing that, they're telling all the stories. They're showing the Point Pleasants, they're showing the Logan counties, they're showing the high strangeness that goes on in all these areas in and around Central Appalachia. But at the end of the day, they're making it plain and clear: Christ is king. He's still on the throne. So even though all this weird is going on, even though you have all this bad that keeps showing up, there's only power there if you give it to them. Oof, I like that. I'm gonna start using that more often.
Well, yeah. I mean, we already know the ending, so it's fun to look into. I mean, we need to be prepared, and that's the weirdest thing to me, is that churches don't even talk about. I mean, it's like it's taboo. No way, not going to talk about it, and it's probably one of the things we really need to be talking about more than anything.
Yeah,
because some people are probably going to be blindsided when some of this starts walking the earth, and it's just like everybody's seeing it.
Yep. Well, I mean, Jesus tells us that when he comes back, when the Father sends him back, it'll be such as it was in the times of Noah. Well, I don't think he was just talking about how bad people were. I think he was literally talking about how it was in the times of Noah: Nephilim, giants, chimeras,
bloodlines,
DNA manipulation, genetic manipulation, all these different things. I think it's literally what he's talking about, is technology being, in my personal opinion, that's when human technology was at its peak, was at its highest, when God destroyed the earth. Well, what we assumed to be the first time. We don't know that, as we talked about earlier. But yeah, man, that's what I believe too. I believe that's why you see so much weird going on. I believe that's why, you'll hear people talk and say all the time, well, it seems like the veil is getting thinner. Well, I believe that's why. I believe that it's not going to be very long until you see Nephilim walking around. Shoot, we may already have him. Look at that Fetterman cat. Where's he at? Kevin Fetterman. Was he Congress or something? Where'd he just win election at? Pennsylvania, Ohio?
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
That dude's Nephilim. If I ever freaking seen Nephilim, he's a freaking ogre. I don't even know what that is. The first picture I seen of that dude, he was standing beside Joe Biden coming off of a plane, and I thought it was fake. I thought it was one of these people just being like, oh, hey, this is the first representation of a Nephilim, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was fake. And then I seen him in an actual press conference in his stupid hoodie and his shorts running for freaking Congress. And I was like, this is legit. And then he wins, which, I mean, he's going against Dr. Oz. And we could have gave him a little better competition. Good God. No, anyway, y'all get my brain firing. I could be spouting.
That's another rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit
hole. Talking about Fetterman.
Yeah, he's something. You hear this, Fetterman? Come on show. Come on, AI. We got questions. We'll be nice to you. Maybe not.
Well, he's been he's been gone for weeks now, like in something
I think they cloned
rehab.
him. Yeah, I think they cloned him now
Yeah.
because I seen a picture of coming out like here recently. It didn't look anything like him. I mean, it resembled him, but it didn't look a lot like him. He went to whatever cloning facility that Biden like 3.0 came back from the last time.
Like Biden in his ears.
Bunch of flipping reptilian clones. Yeah.
Oh man,
Anyway,
in my belief, I think every time they clone someone, they just get dumber. Look at Fetterman and Biden.
I think so. They can't even string together sentences. What are y'all even trying to? What are you trying to say? What are you talking about? I don't know, man, but I'm with you. Like the whole Sasquatch, Dogman, the cryptids, you know, all that stuff. I think we can tie all that into all that stuff too. I mean, I think, you know, that's part of the whole genetic manipulation and DNA manipulation. And, you know, if somebody laid down proof in front of me right now and said, well, hey, Bigfoot is just some kind of offspring of Nephilim and all this. Okay, I can get on board with that. I get on board. Dogman, same way.
It's really almost easier to believe that Sasquatch is something like that and not a hominid.
Yeah.
I mean, so for the simple fact you never, you know, I mean, there's no pictures and no bodies and all this stuff that other people say. I mean, tracks that in the snow and all that weird crap. I mean, it's something's going on with dude that ain't normal.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's because he's got fallen angel blood. That's what I'm thinking today. My view on Bigfoot changes every single episode.
Mine too.
I say that he's something different every episode. So, since we're on this topic of Bigfoot, I'm going to go to my Hillfolk Bigfoot expert here, Maynard. Where are you coming in this conversation?
Yeah, I'm definitely far from an expert. The longer I look into this, the more questions I have. I think it's like just about everyone. But about the only thing I've been looking into lately was I've been trying to figure out thing about eye glow or eye shine or, you know, kind of very specific into the topic. But you know, so many people report that it's actually not eye shine like, you know, you see any nocturnal animal, you shine a light, eyes shine black. A lot of people say that they see the eyes actual glowing, which, I mean, if there's nothing in nature, that's not a natural phenomena. And if you, from what I've said before, you know, I'm kind of an aper, so to speak. I still think it's flesh and blood. I'm not sure exactly how to reconcile some of the strangeness. I believe some of that strangeness is out there, but one thing that's really got me is the eye glow, and are people actually seeing eye glow? And I've been trying to think about how it can be possible. Maybe this is getting a little scientific-y, but I think what may be going on is, since Bigfoot sees so well at night, it's been speculated a lot of people think they see into the infrared range. You know, that's why they hide from us so easily at night. Even at night, they seem to stay, you know, when we're using thermals, they seem to stay behind trees, even at night where we really can't see well. And I'm wondering if it's not just this eye glow might be connected with that. And what I think may be happening, and again, this is all just speculation, is that their eyes are taking in so much infrared light that we can't see. So if we were looking at them in the dark, we wouldn't see any of this light. And it's somehow accumulating that infrared light and almost reflecting back, like when it goes into the temporal lucidum, which is the part of the eye that reflects light in nocturnal animals. If it's not reflecting back that infrared light, but change that frequency just enough and interacting with that membrane that it's actually looking like red light reflecting back. And that would kind of like would be why people say it looks like glowing red eyes. Because I had a weird thing happen when I was up camping on the rim a couple years ago. I had a bird come up. It's called a whirlwill, kind of like a whippoorwill if you're down in the south where you are. It's kind of the out west version of that. And I heard something land behind me, and at first I thought it was an owl, because it was a nocturnal bird, so I automatically think owl. And I turned around and hit it with my red light on my headlamp. And let me tell you, its eyes reflected back the most brilliant, sparkling red. I mean, it literally did look like eye glow. It didn't look like eye shine at all. And that's what made me think that I wonder if Bigfoot does see an infrared, if it's just reflecting that light back, and that's what we see as eye glow. And I know that's kind of a very specific thing for the topic, but that's kind of where I'm at with the whole Bigfoot thing. Because so many people, see these weird things going on with Bigfoot, and I can't say, I'm not trying to tell them what they saw or what they didn't see. I just don't know if it's all connected to Bigfoot. I mean, weird thing A happens and weird thing B happens, and you assume they're connected, but correlation doesn't prove causality. So I don't know. That's just kind of one thing I was thinking about Bigfoot lately. I know that doesn't fit real well into the whole big topic we're talking about today, but that's just kind of where I've been thinking.
This is AI, brother. These topics change like the weather this time of year in Appalachia. Okay.
Heinz 57. You got every ingredient.
That's exactly right. We could talk about the Bible 1 second, and we could talk about eye shine or eye glow the very next second, and could probably spin it back around to the Bible from that if we really wanted to. But we'll stay on this. We'll stay on this just biological topic of Bigfoot, because everything that you're saying right there is super, super, super interesting. And it goes in with everything. You're just like, okay, you see this bird and the eyes, glow like that, or it looks like they're glowing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be, kind of spot on based on the biology, just the anatomical put togetherness. That's not sciencey at all, but that's the way I'm going to describe it. Just based on how these things are put together and how they've evolved and how they've, survived or whatever. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, that's a huge possibility that, if these things are biological creatures, just, a flesh and blood thing, then yeah, I mean, we know we have all these stories of infrasound. We know that big cats and a whole lot of other animals out there have infrasound and they use it. We know that there are certain species of primates that their fur, their body moves and twitches to a point that it's hard to get a clear picture of them because they're constantly moving. It constantly blurs. They're not supposed to be seen. Like, we know that there are a ton of marine animals and things like chameleons and all these other things that can either turn translucent or they can go the same color as their background, to use kind of this cloaking type of thing. I mean, we know that there's biological creatures out there that can do all of these things that Bigfoot is said to be able to do. And I think with what you're talking about with the eyes right there, if birds can do it, if it can look like that on a bird by using, some form of infrared vision capabilities, why couldn't Bigfoot? I mean, we're literally talking about like the tippy top of the tippy top as far as intellectually intellectual, like super advanced, evolved creatures, right? I mean, if they weren't, there would be heads on all of our walls.
Yeah,
I'd love to have a big Sasquatch head on my wall. That'd be freaking sweet. Holy crap. I'm getting a full stuffed one. I'm one of the taxidermists.
It's just so weird though, because if it does have all of these different adaptations, the fur that can blend in, the eye shine that almost looks like eye glow, it just almost gets weird, even though it's physically real, not supernatural. It still gets so weird because, like, what are we dealing with here that it has all of these different adaptations? It almost becomes weirder than supernatural because it's just so well developed. It has all these different adaptations like across the board that we don't see in a lot of other primates even. So it almost becomes stranger than fiction. It's just so weird. It's such a weird topic.
And I think that could possibly go back. And I swear I'm not just trying to do this, but I think that could go back and be kind of one of those, some of that proof to say that this is something that has been genetically, intentionally genetically modified at some point, whether that be in a lab, in the early whatever, or if it was, pre-flood Nephilim, fallen angel tech, watcher tech that was doing it. But I think that's one of those versions of proof that if this is a biological creature that has stuck around for so long, but they just have, like, if you're taking all the coolest attributes of every animal out there and you're putting it in one like super apex predator, that's hard to do. That's hard for nature to do. But could it be done intentionally? Could it be done by something that wanted to use these things as a freaking super soldier army? Holy crap. That's a book. I'm gonna write a book about a super soldier army of big feats.
I'm actually working on just starting a book of fiction. Maybe I probably won't get very far because I don't have the follow through. I'm very poor about it. But I've had this thought, and this is just kind of the wheels in my head. But a lot of times you hear with the Anunnaki where our DNA may have been altered by extraterrestrials or interdimensional creatures, whatever. What if, because Bigfoot do have all these almost perfect adaptations. What if they were the original creatures and their DNA was changed, and that's how we wound up with us?
Ooh.
What if, I mean, not to use biblical terms, but what if we're the abomination?
That's a twist.
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, again, this is somewhere in work in fiction. Because I've heard it explained one other time. If you put a Bigfoot, a gorilla, a chimpanzee, an orangutan, and a human sitting around a campfire, which one doesn't belong? It's us.
That's
it's not
true.
any of the other ones.
That's true.
So I just, just kind of something I've been thinking about, just, kind of just entertaining thought, maybe thinking about putting it in a book, but, and people are like, well, why would the government cover up Bigfoot? Well, if that were the case, if Bigfoot, the original creatures, and, their genetics are altered to make us, that would be something they would cover up.
That's a twist. That's a twist. And they would cover it up.
That'd be weird. People are like, why would they cover it up for logging or anything like that? I don't think really, but for something that big, maybe.
Man, you get my wheels turning.
Just kind of bringing that back around to the, being out there and something maybe a little biblical or something like that. Just something to toss around in my mind, trying to put down on paper, maybe as a fiction, as a novel.
I like it. And I could get on board with it. I mean, change a little bit of the verbiage in what you said, and I could totally get on board with everything you're saying. Because look, I mean, I've seen these representations of Neanderthals and their skeletons and all this different junk. Looks a little Bigfooty to me. Just throwing that out there. They look a little Bigfooty. They are some rough looking characters covered in hair. I mean, now they may not have been as big, but we've also found, giant skeletons in these mounds with weird shaped heads with different, they don't have the, what's it called in the skull? The,
sagittal crest.
Yep, that's it.
Sagittal crest.
I knew you'd know it.
Yeah.
They don't have the sagittal crest. It's just a different looking creature. So what if these, now I believe that there were giants, but again, what if this was an original race or, a different form of intelligent, not human, but whatever they
Hominin.
were. Yeah,
Yeah.
hominid. There you go. You keep throwing these science words. I'll keep struggling, and you just
Sorry.
keep filling in. No, you just keep filling in the blanks, man. We make a good team. We make a good team. But if that's what, who's to say some of these skeletons that have been found weren't skeletons of big feet? I mean, we don't know that. I mean, people say we never found a body, we never found a skeleton. Well, how do you know? There's giant skeletons that have been found all over the freaking world for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And some of them range in that Bigfoot height territory. They're way broader than we are. They have like different, they're just made up differently. It's weird.
Yeah. So as far as fossils go, it depends where, if they're found in rainforest, even the Pacific Northwest is a temperate rainforest. But if you look at chimpanzees, if chimpanzees didn't exist, and all we had to go off was a fossil record, all we'd have would be a few jaw bones and a handful of other bones. Like chimpanzees just don't live where things fossilize very well.
Yeah.
So I mean, what all is out there that we haven't found, or that just hasn't fossilized? I mean, we're missing more gaps than we could possibly imagine in that family tree.
That's true. That is true. Man, you got to write this book, man. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it.
I just have to have some follow through. Figure out where I'm going with it. Fiction's interesting like that. You can play around with a lot more of the facts than you do if you try to write something that's straight scientific.
Oh yeah.
You can have a little more.
Well, you've got
a few more weird ideas out there.
Yeah, and you've got wiggle room when somebody comes at you with whatever you're saying. Like, it's fiction, stupid. I mean, I say it's fiction, but then the whole time you're just like really putting it out there. This is what I believe.
Yeah.
I wish I had more time.
I'm not sure I believe it, but yeah, so do I. I should have written this time off that I've used. I've used it poorly as far as writing. I've got stuff read, but not much written. I've still got a few months, so maybe I'll get to it.
Yeah. Get it out there. Get it out there.
Yeah.
I'm going to message you every day and be like, Maynard, get to writing. Stop whatever you're doing right now and write.
Yeah.
Just let it flow. Pen to paper.
Yeah. I think I might do it from a perspective of some Bigfooters that are just out there trying to find out, what Bigfooters do and just kind of stumble into something a little bigger and see see how that develops from there.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. That's way better than Ryan's short stories that he started writing about 3 podcasters that keep going in the woods and getting killed by all these different cryptids. He's killing me. Literally killing me in everything that he writes.
Yeah.
He's like mixing the gray rooms with all the weird stuff that we're talking about and killing us off in every single thing that he's writing. Oh well. It'd sell probably. Well, Dick, we'll move on to you, buddy. You still grow the finest, and you always will. We've been looking into that. Or have you seen any new UFOs lately?
I mean, we see a lot of crazy shit. Have seen a lot of it. Yeah, I think I sent you the 2 of the videos I posted. I posted a couple of them in the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
That was over. According to the guy that shot it, over Pine Mountain, Virginia Pine Mountain, which is if you remember when you and Ryan and Lance were talking, Ryan was talking about having family near Chestnut Ridge or whatever. This would be a few miles behind there, toward Mount Rogers. That's where that big bus looking light was.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it was definitely awesome, captivating video. It was one of those things.
I mean, it's just a few seconds. He's taking a few pictures. I mean, and this, those were two separate craft, and they were filmed at different times. And if you knew the type of guy that this was, you know, he's not. He's just one of those. He's an innocent farm boy, you know, just uh, real good dude. Not like as down to earth as you could possibly imagine. You know, he took those and um, I actually saw it on his phone and had him to send it to me. You know, when I sent it to you all. Um, we've been looking into that, and of course, you know, my daughter's wanting to go do the, you know, she's wanting to go visit the haunted, the haunted places. She wants to go and do the, you know, do the paranormal investigations like Shawnee and Lake Shawnee, and of course I let her listen to the Dunmore Mansion episode. That was she got excited about that. Can we go there? Can we go there? We've been down every rabbit hole we can think of here lately, especially, you know, listening to you guys, and you guys got me listening to Hollow Sky and a little bit of the confessionals, and as a matter of fact, to compliment what Maynard was talking about, Tony had a doctor on, I think not too long ago, talking about writing a book of fiction about her MK Ultra experience. It was pretty.
Go to the bathroom. You just walk around.
It was crazy. You know, she was that's what she was talking about, having to write it in fiction, you know, as fiction. But other than that, I've been doing a lot of there's a book called The Illuminati that I've been into. Has a real good chapter on you can get it on you can listen to that on Audible. And it's in the second chapter, talks about a guy discovering Ormus, which is you know, talked about even ancient Egypt, you know, that's thought to have existed before, and that he was just the guy to rediscover it. His name was David Radius Hudson. If you look him up, he discovered this monatomic element of gold. And when he sent it off to see what it actually was, he couldn't get these labs at these universities to be able to figure out what it was, anything other than just a core sample. So, you know, core sample, it's an anthracite or coal, or, you know, something like that. But he finally found out, you know, it's a monatomic. It's a single atom of gold. In this form, it was like a white powder, and when they would heat it up beyond a certain point, it would stop existing. And I know it sounds crazy when I say this, but when they would heat it up beyond a certain point, it would disappear in the specimen tray. When it would cool back down, it would reappear. So during one of these experiments, they heated it up, used a utensil to stir any matter that would be in the tray, even though it's not there, it disappears, and see if it reappears in an altered form. You know, where they would have displaced it by stirring around in the specimen tray, and it didn't. It reappeared in the form that it disappeared in. So when they heated this element up, it would actually cease to exist in this dimension. So that almost lends itself to prove some of the you know, if that's real. That's, yeah, it's just something I've been diving into. But that also lends itself to prove some of the theories of of the dimensional travel, and even all the way up to the materials used in some of these experimental craft that we're apparently seeing and shooting down. It's funny, we've never seen them and shot them down before.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, a lot of this stuff, it's crazy, man. Ever since I started down the rabbit hole, since I saw the Black Triangle, ever since I started down the rabbit hole, everything ties itself to another fucking rabbit hole. I mean, you can go everywhere. and another thing Maynard was talking about there, he was talking about the ocular function and things being strained into fiction. Look at the human eye. Human eye is so intricate. We've been seeing it in high definition since long before a cell phone was ever invented. Uh, uh, in color, in high definition. We were to think we're some kind of organic accident. It's beyond me. But you know, he was talking about the eye glow, the eye shine, eye glow. You know, what do a lot of humans do when they see an eye, when they get scared? Say you were out in the woods, you see a set of glowing red eyes. What happens? You're going to do one of two things, probably. Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna do one of two things. Probably you're probably either gonna run, or in a lot of, and especially, and I hate to say it, like a weaker human, you're probably gonna freeze. I mean, you're gonna be scared. That's it can be a defense, it could be a hunting mechanism to them, and you want to talk, you know, you talk about the illumination, just as intricate as eye shine is. Eye glow could be something that's that they have evolved to have, you know, like I said, as a tool for either fear or some kind of adaptative tool. You know, just trying to think outside the box, paradigmatically. Just, you know, like your anglerfish. The anglerfish glows. It literally glows to catch its prey.
Yeah.
There are things that you know. Look at lightning bugs. They're, you know, these are fireflies. They actually have, you know, something that makes them illuminate for some kind of adaptative trait, something they need, you know, to do, whether it be communication or, you can look at that a lot of different ways, even whether you're on the biological theory of Bigfoot or the interdimensional or whatever school you subscribe to, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that the whole monatomical gold thing, that blew my freaking mind. That's crazy.
Yeah. Listen to that, Justin, if you get a chance. I know it's on Audible. It doesn't cost much for the book. I don't have Audible anymore. I had been listening to it, and then ever since I just went down, since I stopped listening to Audible, we had so many freaking subscriptions. I just had to get rid of some of them. But ever since, I just actually started looking up David Radius Hudson and some of these things. But the best to hear the whole story in its cumulative summary, the best place that I've heard it is on that book, on that audio book, and it's called, I think it's just called The Illuminati. It's a yellow, like an amber yellow cover, and it's the second chapter.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. Definitely, because you know I'm into anything that could lead to any kind of proof of dimensionality or parallel universes, or I'm always trying to keep up with what's going on in the world of physics and quantum physics and all that, even though I'm too dumb to really understand what they're saying. I try to catch keywords and break it down.
No, all they know how to do is term it. You're not any less intelligent than anybody that studies it. You're just less informed. But these, and I see myself the same way. I'm a blank pal, you know, that until I learn something new. That's the first interdimensional proof, you know, and that I had heard of, and it is, you know, it's recorded. I mean, they heated this stuff up, they stirred around in the tray, it cooled back down, reappeared, and it was unaltered from its disappearing form. So you know, and you're talking about a white powder when it's at its room temperature. So you're talking about something that it physically you could move with a straw, you know, anything, you could blow on it and move it. So them stirring around in there, it should have altered its, you know, the form it was, you know, that they had it in the tray, the specimen tray. So when it came back the same, you know, that led them to believe there's only one explanation. It's not, once it is heated up beyond this point, this monatomic metal is it no longer exists. And I think there were actually a few elements that were similar. I think radium no, not radium, iridium, maybe. Gold. There were a couple of them. Beryllium, maybe. I can't remember. But I think they go over some of it on that, in that book. And it's, it'll blow your mind. Just even if you just listen to the second chapter, it's a doozy.
Hunter Biden wasn't around whenever this turned into a white powder, was he? Because that would explain the disappearance.
Yeah. It disappeared as cocaine and reappeared as baking soda. Oh shit! You can make a lot of money with this shit.
Yeah, for real. No, that is
Got
wild,
charisma
man.
written all over it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that reminds me, we were having a conversation, and man, I talk to so many people now, like on here and just, in my day to day. And we're at the point now that I can't go anywhere without talking about the weird. I mean, I've turned into the local weirdo around here. And if I show up anywhere, people are like, hey man, let me tell you this story, or, hey, have you heard this? Or, I mean, that's just what it constantly is, but which I'm totally cool with. That's where I want to operate. But I was talking to somebody the other day, and I don't remember if it was on here, and y'all may have even heard it if it was, but we were talking about like the different states of matter and how, certain things can operate different, like certain molecules can operate differently and show up differently, in a physical sense with, certain states of matter. Just look at water, for example, just something as basic as, H2O, that compound, it shows up different in gas, in a liquid, and in a solid, I mean, it shows up in all those different forms. So if you had, and it just it doesn't have directly to do with, what you were saying as far as like disappearing and coming in and out, because it's still there no matter what form it's in, even in a.
Well, yeah, it does actually, because you're changing the environment and it's changing with the environment.
Well, yeah.
You're cold. If it's cold, it's a solid. If it's
I
room
guess
temperature to a certain point, it's a liquid.
And I guess once it does go to a gas, it does kind of disappear, to a certain extent or whatever. But we were talking about
it evaporates.
We were talking about that, and we were talking about, what if, organisms, like actual living organisms, had that kind of ability, to be able to meld themselves into different states of matter. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that sounds like totally out there, but if you have individual molecules that can do that, well, why couldn't you get a bunch of them that come together to create a living organism that can also do that? And probably, I mean, I didn't do a lot of digging into it, but there probably are examples of organisms out there that can do that if you've done enough digging and looking into it. Nature's nuts, dude. It's crazy. Like, I didn't know how crazy it was until we really buddied up with Justin and Jay from Cryptids of the Corn, and he starts teaching me all this stuff about animals and biology and nature, and starts blowing my freaking mind. But yeah, it's wild, dude. I think it was actually Shane from Inquiries of Our Reality that we were talking to when we were talking about the different states of matter. Maybe not. Either way,
Maynard probably probably knows some of that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Maynard knows a little bit about everything. He's a wealth of
I'm
knowledge.
not sure
Look at him right
exactly.
there.
I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about as far as which show you're referring to. I don't remember listening to that one.
Well, way to go, Maynard.
Sorry.
Oh no, we were actually talking about that book, The Monoatomic Gold. Being able to be heated to a certain point and then actually disappear, not be able to have its form altered at all, and then cool down and reappear in the same form that it was. Even though they had presented they used a stirring stick, stirred around the specimen tray while it disappeared, it reappeared in the form that it disappeared in. So whatever they were doing while it was disappeared, as it was either existing on a different dimension or just particles in the air, it reappears in the form that it disappeared in.
I I hadn't heard that before, but I'm definitely going to look into that. That would beg a whole bunch of questions that would spawn. 'Cause that's really interesting. I'm
Yes,
definitely
sir.
gonna
You
check
won't
that out.
you won't hear a lot about it. You won't hear a lot about it unless
Yeah.
you're looking for it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
That's wild. That's wild.
It's very, very wild.
All right, Kenneth, you've been real quiet this whole time, which tells me that something is getting ready to be unloaded. Because I don't know if you've said a word.
Not really. I mean, not really.
All right, we've been looking into.
I've
First
wanted
off,
to.
first off, before we even get into this, let's talk about your podcast. It's getting ready to get cranked out. Go ahead before it ever even hits the ground. Go ahead and start putting it out there. Let the hill folk know about Kenneth's new podcast. It's going to be coming out pretty soon. Hit him with it.
Well, I've already bought all the domain names, so I guess I might as well just put it out there, right?
Absolutely.
Creaking Ropes of Destiny.
That's such a cool name.
It's gonna kind of fluctuate between paranormal, a little bit of like true crime, disappearance kind of things, Granger up in the Northwest kind of thing. I want to bring my daughter on every now and then, just because one, she's into all this. She's done paranormal investigations, but two, her reactions are just money. She's such a goofball. It's great. So I'm hoping to get all my equipment in this week, and then after that, off to the races.
Yeah. So
that'll be that,
folks. Creaking Ropes of Destiny. Be on the lookout for it. Whenever it does hit the ground, we'll be talking about it. We'll probably be on there. I mean, we'll probably be,
I hope so.
At some point.
I mean, eventually, you guys are busy, so maybe 6 months down the line.
At some point, we could do it. I'm sure. But no, man, definitely look out for that, and to just kind of flip it back around, all the way back around. Our boy Dick here, I think that's been on his mind a little bit about the possibility of maybe starting a podcast. Dick, you can speak to that if you want to.
Yeah. We are. We're looking. I did the same. Just bought the domain name and set it aside for my daughter and I. It's we talk about a lot about nowadays anybody who's awake and doesn't follow the mainstream narrative is that's the new counterculture. So that's what we want to get into with the speaking the truth. It's going to be more like news you don't hear and conspiracies and it's obviously something paranormal because my daughter's like Ken's daughter is into the paranormal investigations and stuff. So but it's going to be called Countercult podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's funny thing is I really have to email Steve and Kyle. I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to steal your thunder or anything, man. I just play on. It's just a play on words, man. Counterculture, countercult. But those guys are great too. But that's we're thinking about it, and should we're already planning, like I said, a trip to Lake Shawnee. My wife is has got my daughter hyped up about it, and so we're planning on doing some of those things, and we'll definitely have you guys on as well. Once we get it kicked out, we're hoping somewhere around the end of the year this year.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. I wanted to get back and give you the opportunity to talk about that too, just because I thought about it and I was like, well, wait a minute, Dick messaged me about this too.
You're good.
So
yeah, no, you're good. Thank you.
Also, hill folk, before it ever hits the ground, be looking out and be ready for Countercult, because we're going to be talking about it too whenever it hits. Like, we're trying to push all this stuff. So Countercult, Creaking Ropes of Destiny, our boy Joel Farr that's usually on here. I don't know what he's doing tonight. He's probably master chefing it up somewhere, playing Gordon Ramsay in somebody's ear, screaming at him right now, holding a knife to their temple. But he's got a podcast coming out pretty soon that he's been working on. I mean, I'm starting to feel like, they talk about these NFL coaching trees. That's how I'm starting to feel in the podcast game. Like I'm feeling like like I've got these podcast trees, all these different ones sprouting out, man. It's been awesome. It was freaking awesome.
You're the pod father.
No. That is Mr. Rogan himself. No one will ever take the title of the pod father away from Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. Yes. Yeah.
Nobody's taking that. But anyway,
Oh, God.
y'all be on the lookout for those podcasts. I promise you we'll be talking about it whenever it happens, because that's really something that we love to do on here, is to promote great people and great content. So y'all be on the lookout for that. So Kenneth, back to you. That was a little promo tangent there, but back to you. Yeah. What have you been looking into? What kind of weird's been going on?
Well, I mean, everybody kind of already hit on the one theory I've been working on. I've been diving deep into the banned books of the Bible and the Apocrypha, the book of Adam and Eve, Enoch 1, 2, 3, all of them. But that's still in the work. What I've been doing now is Le Bête de Gévaudan, or the Beast of Gévaudan.
Bless you.
Yeah, right. So I don't know if you guys ever heard about this, but this took place before the U.S. was even a country. 1764 to 1767, 3 years.
Is this the werewolf in
brutal
France?
Killings. Yes. A minimum of 100. There's a minimum of 100 brutal killings, and the reason it's a minimum is because the main records are all Catholic parishes. So if you weren't Catholic and buried, they didn't record your death. So it's estimated up to like 300 killings in 3 years within a 50 square mile area. It's just crazy. I mean, imagine the president of the United States signing a decree and sending the Green Beret in for Dogman.
Yeah.
The king, the king of France, royal decrees like, we're going to help you guys out.
Well, Teddy Roosevelt did go hunt. Teddy Roosevelt did go hunt the snallygaster one time, so that's pretty close.
Pretty close. And this is on the verge of printing presses and newspapers. So, I mean, it's when they're really starting to like keep track of everything. And people will describe it as like a wolf, but not a wolf. And it, the French term is a rougarou, which is down in Louisiana, down in the Acadian country. They still use that term. And I mean, brutal. All the attacks were to the neck. They would find the heads 20, 30 feet dragged away. There's reports that the clothes were like folded. And some people who survived attacks would say that it was up on 2 feet. Like I said, they sent in dragoons, soldiers, royal huntsmen, because like back in this time, if you were a peasant, you couldn't hunt. Everything belonged to the king. And there's even one kid who there ended up being, I think it was 8 of them. And one of them started to get dragged off, and one kid just went after it, and they fought it off. And they paid him basically like 300 livres, which was their money at the time. Made the other split 350. They paid for this kid's tuition to go to any education he wanted. He ended up being in the king's court. Like, this is all like documented. in French history. And it's just like insane that all this was going on.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, you have a few year span of all these killings and what people claim to be, you know, of a werewolf type creature, or what today in America we would call dog man. Yeah, that's pretty freaking crazy. Like you're talking about the leader of the entire country filing a decree and sending out all these troops to find this thing and to hunt this. It's nuts. You know, that's one of those, like, when all the arguments come against these cryptids, you know, that's one of those that you look at, like, people saw this thing, multiple people saw this thing and documented seeing this thing. And it was never like they knew what wolves were. Like, we always want to think about, oh, well, these people back in this time, they just, well, they perceived it as being something else. It was just a case of mistaken identity. It was the same. They saw the same stuff then that we see now. They know what a freaking wolf is. They know what a big cat is. They know what, you know, if it was just a dude walking around killing people, they know what that is. Like, no, they described it as the way we would describe a werewolf or a dog man or something along those lines.
And then you add in the fact that, you know, one of the first attacks, the person survived, and they erected a statue of her in France, in this area in like South Central France, but she only survived because the bulls in the herd were charging this animal. And the weird thing is like a lot of them were, you know, they're out there with sheep or cows or whatever. But this thing never went for those. None of the animals were ever harmed. It always went for the person.
So weird. So weird. I like cow meat way better than people meat. I mean, I guess
you don't like the long pork.
I've never tried people meat, but I can guess that I like cow. I love a good ribeye. I just do.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about a people eye. Probably not very good. I don't know. That is, it's weird, dude. It's I don't know. It's so weird, man. Well, again, you talk about it being in like the records of the Catholic Church. And now,
yeah,
we know that the Catholic Church was it at the time. Like, that's where all your documentation's coming from. That's them in conjunction with the royals at the time. They were running everything. And a lot of time, the royals at the time were also the Catholic Church and vice versa. I mean, we know that that's how it goes. But again, it's another one of those things like, okay, they're attacking the people. The documented cases are of, you know, people of the church, you know, whether they're laymen or what, they're of the church, they're of this certain faith. It's one of those things like me and Lance talked about on the episode that dropped today, of all these different accounts that come along with in regards to like the Catholic Church. And it's one of those, like, was this just a cryptid? Was this some form of man beast that biologically somehow evolved into this way? Was this some form of demonic entity that was sent to be like, okay, hey, look, start taking them out? You know, was this some form of biological creature that was possessed by a demonic entity and used as a vessel to do, like, there's so many questions like to how these things, like how they are, how they exist, how they operate. You know, I heard one time, I heard a lady one time, or I don't remember where it was from, And now at this point, I don't remember if it was a man or a woman, but they were talking about how they theorized that these big feats and these dog men and all these things were these flesh and blood biological creatures, but just like humans, just like other living creatures can be possessed by demons, that these things could too. And when you see these really aggressive forms and you see these like supernatural forms and you see all this different stuff, that's what's going on, that a demonic entity has manifested itself and possessed a biological creature, resulting in this whatever, dogman, Bigfoot. I don't know. It's a pretty interesting take on it.
Well, and then like, so there's this 50 square mile area, and there's literally attacks happening 25 miles apart simultaneously.
Yeah, see that.
So there's more than one. You know, even if you were to say it's just a small pack of wolves, they're going to do the same thing 25 miles apart at the exact same time.
Yeah, that's weird. That's
weird. It's just, and then like you talk about how, you know, the old gods Appalachia and coming down from the highlands and all that. Well, the Acadians, the original French Canadians up in like Nova Scotia, Quebec, came down through Appalachia and then settled in New Orleans. That's where we get Cajun from, is the Acadian
yeah.
kind of thing. So, you know, did they bring that with them? Because there's numerous tales of Rougarous running the swamps.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, man. I don't know. And that's what makes it so awesome, is that I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm going through the book right now, The Beast, which the guy also runs a website, but it's out of France, so it's like lebet.something.eng in order to get in English or whatever. But it's pretty crazy. He takes some liberty in the book. You know, he talks about the sun setting and the falcon flying through the pasture or whatever. And it's like, you don't know if any of that happened. But the end result is this person was decapitated by something that was ferocious. That's how they labeled it in the parish records, was a ferocious beast attack.
That's crazy. That's some wild stuff.
And I got something for you because of what you said earlier. And like I said, I've been diving deep into the Apocrypha and the banned books. It's a rhetorical question, but it's, what's stronger, power taken or power granted?
That's a good question.
It's a good bumbler. You'll tumble over it.
Well, yeah, because either way it goes, the power that's granted could also be taken.
Yeah. And power granted is being submissive.
Right. It's true. That's a good question. Kenneth, you're always blowing my mind. You're always making my brain hurt right before we get off of here. I thought that it was going to be something easy, just like some really cool cryptid stories.
No, that's not going to happen. You know better than that. You should probably have me go first next time.
Well, honestly, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm always a little bit of afraid to make you go first, because we're going to go down these like really, really mind-bending rabbit holes. I had no idea that starting with Outlaw and Tartaria here was going to get into talking about the Bible and the times of Noah, just like within a matter of minutes. I had no idea that was going to happen. It just,
Well, like I
that's
said,
AI.
sometimes even if it's not for the show, given some of the things you said earlier, and from Richard and Jason, like this theory, like sometime I should like try to explain it to you.
Yeah. Well, we are still trying to plan a solo interview at at some point, whenever the schedule opens up. We've been trying to get Kenneth on here since before we started doing these powwows. So that tells you how long that's been going on. But no, man, that's before. I think we've been going on about 2 hours now. I got work in the morning. I'm sure some of you boys got work in the morning as well. But before we jump completely off here, number one, I think this has been a great time. Me personally, I think this has been awesome. I love getting a room full, even if it's not really a real room, if it's just a virtual room. I love getting a room full of people that are smarter than me to be able to talk about the things that they're looking into and to talk about some of the things that we've been talking about. I love that because I learned something each time, and I learned something from every individual in here. And I love that. I love that we can have a biblical conversation and then switch right to Bigfoot and then switch to interdimensional molecules and then switch to werewolves in France in the 1700s. I love that. I love that we can have a conversation because look, guys, like for me, if we were all kicked back around a bonfire right now, just hanging out in real time, this is how the conversations are going to go. I mean, that's what's cool about it. That's what's cool about doing this. And then in the community that we're building, you know, we talk about building the tribe all the time. Like that's what we're doing here. Like getting your guys' input on what you're coming across and seeing and talking about, you know, and it happens away from here too. This is just kind of the spot that we can, you know, we're all kind of talking and messaging, whether it be, you know, through social media or through the Discord or through Patreon or, you know, wherever. We're all kind of communicating in between these powwows. But then it's like all that we've been talking about, we can bring it all together at one time here at these powwows and sit down and put it all out there on the table and see each other's facial expressions when we're talking about, see each other's body language, like see how passionate we can get about some of these things that we're talking. And I love that, man. I love more than anything. If you would have told me a year and a half ago that there would be this whole hill folk community out there where we're all sitting down and we're all coming together and we're all talking about all this weird stuff, I told you you're crazy. Well, first I would have said, there ain't, you know, 5 or 6 people that's going to be listening to anything we got to say. Number one, let alone 5 or 6 people that are jumping on here once a month and are pumped to talk about some of this stuff. So for that, I appreciate you boys. I appreciate all that y'all do with sharing the show, with, you know, sending us information, with, you know, sharing your stories with us, with everything that y'all do. I appreciate you a ton. I mean, more than you'll ever know, more than I can ever say. You know, I made mention talking to, I think it was Justin from Cryptids of the Corn the other day. I said, you know, like, because he was talking about these powwows and how it was such a cool thing. And I was telling him, I was like, dude, what I have come to find out really quickly was there's a lot of people out there that know a whole lot more than you do. And they all have something to say. You know, they all have something, like they're hearing what we're talking about, and in their own mind, or maybe even out loud driving down the road, they're talking to themselves about it. They're answering the questions that we're talking about, or they're saying, man, they should have said this, or they should have got into that, or they should have looked at this book. And when you can get all of that together, all of those pieces that we're trying to fit together, they start coming together. So in building that community and building all that, like, that's the coolest thing for me, is to be able to see, just to be able to see this community grow and thrive, and people get in and just literally live life together. Because as y'all find out, come check out the Discord, come in there and hang out with us. You'll find out real quick, it ain't just a bunch of weird stuff. Sometimes we're just talking about what we're eating and drinking that day. Sometimes we're talking about what our kids are doing. Sometimes, we're just getting on there and venting. I think I got on there the other day and I was like, guys, I'm killed. I'm done. This is it. And then you got people coming alongside, patting you on the back, and like, nah, buddy, you got it. You got it. So, I mean, it's really, it's a community. That's what we're growing here. That's what y'all are growing more than me. But anyway, the point that I was trying to get to, I said, with these powwows, I would be totally comfortable with sitting down, doing an intro, pushing record, and then leaving. And it'd be great content. It would be some of the best content that's out there, because these people are just, they're super intelligent. They know what they're talking about. They've put in the research. They've theorized on all this stuff anyway. Get a platform to be able to put that out there on. And now we've got, Dick starting his own podcast, Kenneth starting his own podcast, Joel starting his own podcast. Our boy Troy Bursch, he's a patron too. He's part of the Kinfolk. He's not on here, but he's already started his own podcast called Into the Abyss. Go check it out. It's a short fictional story podcast that he has going. It's just so cool, man. It's so cool to maybe, hopefully, have a part in giving some of you boys and some other people out there the want to and the drive to say, if these dudes can do it, I can do it. Because we've had those people in our lives. You look at Tony. He's driving truck. I mean, he was doing the working 5 and 6 days a week, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and still putting out awesome content with these great guests and finding all these great stories. And now he's building a media empire from a freaking awesome studio in Maryville, Tennessee, and traveling all over the country, shooting films and making documentaries. And he has all this stuff going on. This is what he's doing for a living. So I've got people like that have been an inspiration to me. People like Sam Tripoli, who, yeah, he's a comedian, but he struggled for years and years and years and years and years. And then finally found his niche in the podcast world and just starts blowing completely up. Who we had the pleasure of talking with a few weeks back. Dude, Sam's so freaking cool. I don't fanboy a whole lot, but when I was jumping on there to talk to Sam, I was like a little kid, man. Just at Christmas, I was giddy. But no, I mean, I'm kind of rambling here. I'll come to a close. What I'm trying to say in all of that is, in building this tribe, it's everybody. It's the guys that are way, way, way above us that we're just trying to integrate and join their tribe. And then it just works its way all the way down to where we're, trying to build this just big tribe of where we can all jump in and join in together, push each other's stuff, promote each other's stuff, just live life together, share the world with each other. And more than anything, show that love and encouragement and everything that we're all doing, just coming together in a time, in a society where you're not supposed to disagree. You can't have conversations with people that you disagree with. You can't have different viewpoints on things. You can't sit down and have, well, yeah, you can. We do it all the time. We're not going to kick anybody out of the community because they come in and say, well, I don't believe the Bible. Okay, well, tell me why. Explain to me. Give me your viewpoints. Give me your thought process. I'm not going to come in. We're not going to kick anybody out of the club because they're like, ghosts ain't real. And we've got one of those. He's a co-host of the show. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We can, more than anything, and building this community is showing whoever's listening out there that you can disagree and still have a respectful conversation. And at the end of it, you can give each other a hug and say, love your brother, and move on and come back the next time. But anyway, with all that said, we love you boys. We appreciate all that y'all do. Anybody have any closing statements, anything they want to push, anything they want to promote before we jump off of here? Anybody?
We need to talk about the folded up clothes one day. Kenneth alluded to that, man. I've got a story about that, and I never believed it from my family. Had a family member have a heart attack. His daughter threw off all of her. It was in the winter. They were cutting wood. She throws off all of her clothes running up the mountain, as the story goes. Gets help, comes back. Her clothes are folded up beside her father, who's passed away. Fast forward to the incident that got me down the rabbit hole. I'm listening to Missing 411, and there's a lot of these that are talking about the folded up clothes, and then Kenneth just spoke on it. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a weird detail.
Yeah, really. And it's the smallest detail. But now that I've heard it so many times, dude, it's really eerie because I heard that as a kid from my family. And I didn't believe in that shit then. And I thought there was flawless. And didn't pay attention. I wasn't going to argue with them, didn't pay attention to it. Dude, when I started hearing it on Missing 411, and then some of these other, talking about people missing or dead and their clothes folded up neat beside them. That's and Kenneth mentioned something about it there in those werewolf attacks. That's fucking nuts, man.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Thanks for having us on, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Outlaw, Jason, Dick, Maynard, Kenneth. Appreciate you boys. Appreciate everything you brought to the table here tonight. We'll do this again in about a month. Brother. We'll do this again in about a month.
Cool. Thanks for having us on.
Look forward to it. It's been awesome, guys. Thanks.
Absolutely. Hillfolk, you know where you can find us. We talk about it every show, so I ain't going to bore you with all the details. You know what to do. Be sure to send us your stories at appalachianintelligence@gmail.com. If you want to come on the show and talk about your experiences, whatever you're looking into, shoot us an email. We will respond at some point. A lot going on, like we talk about all the time. We will eventually respond. More importantly, most important thing that you can do to support us and to support this show is to just share it. Find everybody in your contact list, just send them a link. Even if it's hey, listen to these idiots. Listen how stupid they are and the nonsense they talk about. It's a great laugh. Share it. We don't care. Love us, hate us, just talk about us. We love you, boys. We love you, hill folk out there. Thanks for tuning in again. We hope you continue to listen to all this goodness that we bring on a weekly basis. And until next time, we'll see y'all later.